Hello everyone, welcome to Crafting and Relaxing. I got a request for masculine cards, and if you're a card maker or if you're trying to make a gift for someone, masculine scrapbooks and cards, they're just harder. We have so many products in the aisles that call to us that have flowers and pastels and just girly bling. So I want to tell you how I start when if I'm trying to put together a masculine card. First, if I have the time, I clean off my table because otherwise all the girly stuff around me is going to call to me while I make the card. So everything you see here, I have put here for you for this video. Then the other thing I did today, because I wanted to have a couple of different ideas for you, is this is my mess that you can see. I went through my supplies and I went through my scrap bin and some papers. I didn't even make it through the whole papers, I don't think, and chose things that would work for masculine cards. Quite honestly, they're not usually my favorite products or the ones that I'm the most excited to see. For example, this paper was in a paper pack, and this is the leftover piece that I didn't like. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. They'll be the ones that are left. So I did that. Then I threw in these gold rub-ons. I'll take stickers any day over rub-ons. And I wasn't sure how I felt about gold for the masculine cards I have in mind. But I have a lot. You'll see in my papers, I've got some golf, some baseball, stars, dots, some origami paper with geometric pattern. So I don't have any flowers, and I have a lot of geometric patterns. This one is gray. I don't know if you get tiny stars in there, see them? This paper is just kind of ugly, but it says happy birthday. It's kind of a stretch. I don't like it that much anyway. So all sorts of geometric things, okay? So I just threw them in this pan, and then I started working from the top and saying, okay, what would I use? And I even found some embellishments, no bling, and a bit of metal. That's one thing that I use more in masculine cards, is heavier embellishments. I have tape with the gray polka dots, and then a blue tape with, I think they're stars, so they would work. That just gives you an idea. Set aside the pink stuff, don't try and use it. Here's just, it's like notebook paper lines or something. So you just put all that stuff together and then start mixing it up and see what happens. So I'll show you what happens. First, I came up with some samples of red, black, and white that I really liked and had a card idea. And then I remembered that I already have a video on red, black, and white cards. And I think you can look at that and see. So I would trim this sticker and do happy birthday. And I have some ribbons and twine here. I probably wouldn't use this polka dot one on a guy's card or this, but the red and white twine or something like this for sure. Give it some texture. I just put some things in here that I thought would work. Here's a red washi tape that came with something else that I didn't need. Some buttons, brads. I think I use brads a lot on masculine cards. So I'm going to set this stuff aside and make it off camera, but you have an idea there. Okay, I was going to do a 21st birthday card with that. Here are some samples that I have just so you can see. This one was a kit. It was not a kit, but a collection. And it was all birthday, and it had a lot of masculine colors. So I have some brads and a bunch of stickers and some paper layers, printed and solids. No bling, nothing girly or flashy. Here's another one, a printed gray and white paper and just a black stamped image matted in black. Think about the themes that might work for the person that you're targeting. The 21st birthday card that I'm working on, music would have been a good one. I just didn't have the time. I'm on a schedule today, so I could cut something out with the silhouette, or if you have a Cricut, or you could walk down the aisles and choose something musical. There's all sorts of musical themed cards too. So here's another one. You can see the Space Needle is a recurring theme, and this one has star brads, and this was a purchased item. So this was just a purchased embellishment, and then I mounted it, and I had to keep my Brad's way up in a weird spot because at the time I couldn't find my, whatever that thing's called that punches holes far away from the edges. There are 2 ideas there. The other thing I do is stencils, right? Just dots, nothing romantic or sappy. My embellishments are typically just black or neutral, or my sentiments. But I also like to use, because I don't have as much embellishments, I'm not going to cover the front with flowers, that sort of thing. I typically like to use a bigger sentiment. So these probably I wouldn't use unless I use some stamps around them or improve them in some way. Whereas this larger one I would use. So that's something to keep in mind. On a happy birthday card for a female, it might be so covered in bling that my sentiment would be really small. Geometric patterns I would use a lot. The other thing is nature. So instead of flowers, I would use trees. This is a tree stamp set that I've used many times over the years to build a scene and put happy birthday or thinking of you or something like that. And then here's another one that might work. Depends on the male. But just think about what you have. You could do this in real masculine colors and like reds and burgundies or something, or some embossing. You know, stay away from the pastellies. Okay, so what I have here that I wanted to show you is one thing to do to keep a masculine card from being boring is I would add a lot of paper layers, and you'll see that it doesn't show as well on camera, but this one is cardstock, printed paper, another piece of printed paper, so it's got a lot of different layers on it. These, I have the measurements. You can stop your video or slow it down, anything you want. The idea is I've gone down by 1/4 of an inch here. A regular A2 card, let me show you, I have it written for you right here. The card base on a regular A2 card is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So my first piece of paper on that, if I wanted 1/8 of an inch around it, would be 5 1/4 by 4. And then I'd go down for my mat. And then I left a bigger gap because I wanted to show the printed paper. So you can go back and forth on this video or pause. I don't want to go through the fractions with you. You'll figure it out. Okay. This is going to be my mat, and then I have this printed paper. And the reason I made this next item smaller is because I wanted a whole ring of the printed paper to show. Had I gone like this, I really wouldn't have gotten much. So I just wanted a little more interest. So I left 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And then again, these are papers that when I took everything and threw them in a pan, they became apparent. I've had this paper right here forever and never done a thing with it, so today's the day. So I'll just take these and layer them up, and if you can see, I've inked the edge on the 3 colored papers, and I didn't do anything super fancy. I just took a black ink pad and literally drug them. I don't have a small one right now, so that's what I did. And that's just a way to add a little more interest, keep things from being so flat. I don't round the corners on a male's card typically. The other thing that I think we forget about is we have ribbon and twine and different things that aren't pink, okay? For instance, I could put this card together. The other thing I do a lot on masculine cards is I foam mount things. So I'll raise up this happy birthday. And that doesn't always show well in the video, but gives you a little more interest in real life. And then I have a piece of black ribbon. One side is shiny and one side is matte. And for a masculine card, I would use the matte side. And that's just a scrap that I had sitting. So I'll put it right there and I'll fold that over. And I'm going to go ahead and put this together on film so you can see how it turns out. So first, and that's one thing about masculine cards is once you figure out what to use, they go together pretty quick. Because you're just not putting that much embellishments on them. If you don't have a big stash, you could just go to the store, control yourself, walk down the aisle. And for masculine cards, I would probably not buy a paper pack. I would just look at the what do we call it? The paper racks or the loose paper aisle, because you could get a 12 by 12 piece of paper and make quite a few cards out of it. You might even find one that has different patterns or different sentiments on it, things like that, so that you're not committing to that paper. You might not want to have an entire paper pack devoted to making adult male birthday cards. I don't know, you might. And I'm just gonna put, I used the dado on the back of that, and then I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of this so it's not flopping around while I'm trying to work. Oops, let's try and get it straight. The other thing, so at this point, lots of times I would use brads, and that's why I use brads on mail cards so much, because they're metal and a little more masculine. The thing is, if I want to mail a card, I don't want a bunch of foam mount and giant brads on it. Okay, so there we go. Then just to put this together real quick for you to see, I'm going to move this over a tiny bit. This is good because you can see me mess up. I'm going to move this over. I didn't get my fractions right or something. I'm going to put this right here. And remember, I'm the only one who had an expectation about the exact matting and how this card was going to turn out. Well, you might have had some, but it's okay. So the receiver is never going to look at it and go, oh, that was supposed to be a 1/4 of an inch mat, and you only ended up with an 1/8. There we go. And all of these layers, they go together pretty quick, really. Okay, and then I'll probably put it on something like that. So there you see, there's a masculine card. It went together fairly painlessly. The thing about masculine cards is you have the product for them, you just haven't really thought about it, okay? So there's one. The other thing you could do is you could have some more ribbon or a row of brads. Had I left the sentiment paper a little bit longer, I could have taken some twine and wrapped it around the end right here for an accent. Just leave it a little longer. There's all sorts of things you can do. So if you were trying to make a bunch of them and you didn't want them to look the same, you could adjust in ways, adjust your paper sizes, leave this long and wrap around it like I said, or you could wrap a bunch of twine where I put this ribbon instead. So just mix it up and have fun with it. The other thing I really wanted you to see was, think about the patterns in the paper. So this, I'll put it together like this. This was a printed cardstock that was in my scrap bin, okay? And it has hexagons on it. So what I did was I just took my scissors and trimmed around one side. And I don't think I would necessarily use these both on the same card, but I could put it like that. And then I could do, good thing I used Thermafix, huh? I could do something like this. So that was just another area of interest. Okay, so think more about your papers and geometric patterns and that sort of thing than jewels. Walk away from the jewels and the glitter. I don't think I use glitter on masculine cards except maybe for holidays. Maybe I do. That's probably the only time. This card's really crooked, but it's because I've been playing with it. There you go. There's some ideas for masculine cards. It really helps if you think about it like making a kit with your own stuff. Just like if you were putting together a scrapbook, quote, kit for yourself. You can see that I gathered up embellishments. I would use buttons. I would use brads. I wouldn't use sequins. I'd pass on those probably. But just put your stuff together and really think about what options you have and look at it differently. The other thing you might have is, even if you have a kit that has a whole bunch of pink in it, let me show you some examples here. even if you have a kit that has a whole bunch of pink. So this is a little bit teal and girly, but you could use something like this as a mat for this. It's just a little interest or color, and it's not too girly. This one's pink and gold. I think we should rule that out. So this one too, you could work that into something like this. Just look, ooh, here's one, right? This is just texture and it's gray. Think about your things differently and really look at your papers objectively, especially in 6x6 paper pads or kits, because there's almost always one in there that's a little more masculine. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment to let me know if you liked this video, and if you did like it, be sure and give it a thumbs up. Thanks, bye-bye.